If you think a museum is just a warehouse where paintings quietly grow old, you should see behind the scenes of the building on Musrapov Boulevard in Almaty. The Kasteev Museum of Arts started in 1935. In 90 years, it has grown to 26,000 exhibits. To understand the scale, if you spent just 1 minute on each item, you would live in the halls without sleep or breaks for almost 3 weeks. And nothing here is random. Every canvas, carpet, or small bronze figure has passed through a level of expertise and selection that any bank would envy.
This year,
the Kasteev Museum went through major renovations. We updated all the lighting in the exhibition halls and put in new floors. It gave us the right balance of light and space.
We are
now fully open to visitors. And I want to add, the Kasteev Museum really does hold a significant place in the cultural world.
Walls and lamps don't make a museum. People do. The art historians, the restorers, the people who care for the collections, they do the work no one sees. They unpacked the masterpieces after the renovation. Paintings that waited years in storage finally got their moment. The museum is open again, and this is one of the few places where the past doesn't feel like dust. It feels alive.
Preserving, protecting, studying, and showing art from around the world is already a big cultural mission. The Kasteev Museum is more than a building with a huge art collection. Inside are people who research and present every piece. Art historians and scholars study the works and share them with the public.
So
it feels wrong to name just one object as what makes us special. But I will say this. We hold over 400 pieces by Abulhan Kasteev. Each one shows the uniqueness of our great master, our first artist.
Fate loves a plot twist. Abulhan Kasteev was born in 1904. He lost his father early. His classroom was the steppe, where he herded sheep for local buys. Watching the flocks got boring, so he carved little figures out of limestone and drew people on scraps of paper. Elders in the village said he should go to art school, but that was still far away. Then the Turkestan-Siberia Railway began. He took a job as a worker. He kept creating. With no canvas, he cut scenes of the construction into the rocks by the road.
When it comes to industrial scenes in his work, think of the Kapchigai hydroelectric station, the Turksip railway, or the Aksai quarry. Every time he got to a new place, he started by sketching. All those details, all those studies, we still have them in the museum. Then he would pull the sketches together, mix the angles, and finish big paintings. If you look at his work from the very beginning to his last years, you can see how his art grew, piece by piece, in order.
Eventually, those sketches and modest watercolors reached the right people and traveled to Almaty, to Nikolai Kludov's studio. Kludov was a wise teacher. He did not force his student to change style. He guided him and taught him the theory. Kasteev learned fast. He did not make up subjects. He painted what he saw. From Kenesari Khan's portrait to grim scenes of old life like bride kidnapping. He became a chronicler of a changing era, turning steppe life into professional painting.
Әбілхан Қастеевтің ең бір керемет ерекше
One thing Kasteev did best was landscapes. He wanted to paint the most beautiful places in the Kazakh steppe. A lot of those are near Almaty.
сондай
We have a series in our museum about the Medeo skating rink.
медеу мұз айдынына деген бірнеше туындылары біздің өнер музейінің қорында сақталған. Айталық осы
The one in the gallery shows a beautiful spot in the city, and it also shows what the famous rink looked like at the very start.
туындысы біздің Алматының ең көрікті жері болып табылса, екіншіден осы шығармадан біз оның Медеу мұз айдынының ең алғашқы көрінісін көре аламыз. Бұл
People always stop at this painting. Why? He caught a special winter moment. Snow, mountains, and you can feel the joy of the people there.
бөктерінде жиналған қауымның қуанышын ол кескіндеме тілі арқылы жеткізе алды. Соның ішінде ол ашық уақытты, немесе алыстағы суық ауаны жақындағы ылғалды қармен.
He painted Kazakhstan's weather exactly right. Clear sky, cold air far off, wet snow right in front. And with bright, rich strokes, he shows the crowd, and you feel that pure happiness.
Жалпы осы туындыны айту барысында біздің халқымызды таныстыратын ерекше жаңағы алтын қорымыздағы туынды болып та айтуымызға болады.
Oil paint is hard to master. Instinct is not enough. Kasteev worked like an investigator. To paint young Abai, he did not invent. He shut himself in a room and read Awazev's Abai fully, searching for the poet's expression in every line. Zhambil Shabayev sat for him in person while they talked. Those studies became paintings filmmakers used as historical records. For Amangildi Imanov's portrait, Kasteev went to the Torgai steppe. He slept in strangers' homes, spoke with elders, and gathered details one by one.
Әбілхан Қастеев шығармашылығы бұл көптеген
What sets Abilkhan Kasteev apart is this. He was a self-taught talent. He chose everyday life as his subject by instinct to be as accurate as possible.
жаңағы бейім болды. Яғни оның шығармашылығы
Put his work next to world masterpieces, and you think of the Northern Renaissance or the painters of the Gallant Age. His paintings feel close to theirs. They also focused on daily life, on ordinary people.
жақында болып келеді деп ойлаймын, өйткені ол жерлерде де көбінесе тұрмыстық жанр, яғни халықтың өмірі.
Kasteev did the same. He painted the life of his people without invention. He turned reality into painting that is simple, clear, and close to everyone.
Қарапайым тілмен, көзге үйреншікті тілмен жеткізген.
History told only by men is half told. The museum would be far less colorful without Aisha Galimbayeva and Gulfay Rus Ismailova. Galimbayeva put the comfort of home into painting. Her Dastarkhan is not just a still life, it is Kazakh hospitality painted so well you start to feel hungry. Gulfay Rus Ismailova brought in theater and drama. Her famous Kazakh waltz is pure movement. Bright silks spin with the legendary Sharaji Kulova. Ismailova ran the opera theater as chief artist and still made big canvases. After the museum's renovation, these paintings got their own space. The new lights pull out every rich brushstroke. Now the portraits by Galimbayeva and Ismailova look like a manifesto. Beauty has character. A good story needs the right introduction. The museum's curators know this well. That is why both foreign visitors and experienced locals are met at the entrance by a large hall of Kazakh decorative and applied arts. This is not just an ethnographic corner for nice photos. Art historians call it the national code. Museum staff joke that this space hits you with the concentrated energy of your ancestors. If you do not understand this hall, you're not ready for Kasteev paintings yet. The secret of this space is that nothing here is random. It is a complete, independent world. The true worldview of nomads, encoded in ornaments and color combinations.
Of course, when we talk about reflecting Kazakh culture, our history and traditions, it is important to remember art has no language barriers. Its language is universal because it is perceived visually. That is why, by presenting our masterpieces of painting and applied art, both in our neighboring countries and far abroad, and on the global stage as a whole, we introduce the world to our country itself. The roots of our culture go back to the Saka era. Just look at how much unique heritage we have. What magnificent jewelry, craftsmanship. What tekemets and sirmaks made of felt. Our folk artisans and craftsmen, without having a university degree, created true works of art.
It would be a huge mistake to think that the Kasteev Museum is focused exclusively on local subjects. Its collection is recognized as one of the most impressive and authoritative not only in Kazakhstan but in all of Central Asia. And if at the entrance you're greeted by the familiar steppe ornament, then walking just a little further you suddenly find yourself surrounded by good old Europe. The halls of foreign art have been assembled here since the very beginning, since 1935. Some pieces were donated from world collections, and for some rare items the museum staff went hunting themselves on expeditions lasting many days. Today the permanent exhibition halls display more than 750 works by Western European masters of the 16th to 18th centuries. This is a dense, serious layer ranging from classical painting and graphics to elegant small-scale sculpture. Foreign tourists wandering into these halls often freeze in amazement. They did not expect to stumble upon masterpieces here, the kind people usually queue up for at the Louvre.
In addition, we are proud of our excellent collection of Western European art. For example, works by Dutch masters of the 17th century, the era of Rembrandt. Several years ago, as part of a museum exchange program, experts from the Netherlands came to us specifically. Foreign art historians studied the Dutch school paintings in our collection in detail and gave them a very high rating.
Art historians love to say that visual language has no borders and no translation difficulties. It is this language-free bridge that allows the Kasteev Museum to feel confident on the world's best stages. If you look into the archive of international projects, the geography and scale will take your breath away even if you are a seasoned collector. Here in Almaty, the museum has hosted solo exhibitions by Damien Hirst, Salvador Dali, Marc Chagall, and Henry Moore. And in 2012, French colleagues brought a large-scale exhibition, Pearls of France, 5 centuries of French art from the collections of the Musée d'Orsay and the Centre Pompidou, filling 5 entire halls at once.
90 жылдық тарихы бар музей, әрине сонау негізі қаланғаннан бері.
If we talk about the most recent projects, last year, as part of the celebration of the museum's centennial, we held several landmark international exhibitions. One of them was a large-scale exposition from Uzbekistan. 5 museums from Uzbekistan joined forces to present works by Ural Tansikbayev, an outstanding master of Kazakh origin who became a classic of Uzbek art. The exhibition was timed to mark the 120th anniversary of his birth. Tansikbayev was a contemporary, a close friend, and a colleague of Abylhan Kasteev. They worked in the same era. That is why holding such a vernissage within our walls had deep symbolic meaning.
Біздің музейдің қабырғасында өтіп өте үлкен маңызға ие болды.
At the same time, the museum does not only host guests, it actively exports its own treasures. One recent high-profile event was the major international exhibition Dialogue of Cultures Kazakhstan-Azerbaijan. For this retrospective project, which clearly shows the entire evolution of Kazakh art from Kasteev to the present day, museum staff brought about 30 of the most valuable canvases. There in Baku, a serious academic roundtable was also held, where scholars from 5 countries debated common Turkic archetypes and visual codes.
Енді өзіміздің тәжірибемізден айтатын болсақ, осынан бірнеше жыл бұрын
Several years ago, a large-scale project dedicated to the applied arts of Kazakhstan was realized in Washington. The fact is that our collection holds not only paintings, but also a very rich collection of national decorative and applied art. To introduce the world to it, we organized an exhibition in the USA, accompanied by a major academic conference. That same year, our project was hosted by the Turkish city of Bursa. And in Moscow, major international exhibitions were held dedicated to the genius of Sergei Kalmykov and to the work of the artists of the 60s within the theme of Turkic Romanticism. Without a doubt, all these events underscore the museum's strong ties with foreign colleagues and our fruitful work. And this integration into the global space never stops.
Жемісті еңбегін көрсетеді. Бұл ешқашан тоқтап қалмайды. Әлі де біз бұл бағытта жұмыс жасап келеміз.
Kazakh art is making its voice heard at the Venice Biennale. This year, the National Pavilion presented a complex project, Koner Archive of Silence, with video installations by the Kizil Tractor Group. And inside the museum itself, after the renovation, visitors were able to see masterpieces of graphic art by Yevgeny Sidorkin. His works, which require jewel-like precision and display, have taken their rightful place in the renewed gallery, proving that our school of graphic art can compete on equal terms with any European avant-garde. If Abulkan Kasteev were alive today, he would definitely not stay away from the digital revolution. Museum staff are convinced that a master who was once so passionately inspired by the arrival of new technologies like the Turksib or the Aksai Quarry would be the first to adopt modern media today. The museum that bears his name follows this logic without fail. The digitization of the collection is in full swing here because today's viewer demands a new language of communication. A vivid example of this synthesis was the recent exhibition marking the artist's 120th anniversary. Paintings literally came to life on huge digital screens, allowing the public to see the finest nuances of brushwork that are usually hidden from the eye. Following that, QR codes appeared in the memorial halls, turning an ordinary guided tour into an interactive quest. But the curator's ambitions do not end there, and right now, still on paper, is a joint mega project with museums in Hong Kong to create a full-fledged virtual digital museum where our art will be accessible from anywhere on the planet.
Абылхан Қастеев атындағы ұлттық өнер музейі өзінің
The Abulkan Kasteev State Museum of Arts plays an enormous role in the spiritual life of the country. To sum up, culture guides all of society in a single direction. Where it is strong, there is order, and where there is order, a strong, mature state is formed. A society in which spiritual values develop harmoniously and unite people will always be among the most advanced. And to be among them, it is important to instill these ideals in our youth. Only then will Kazakhstan develop and move forward. If we can inspire the new generation to keep coming to these halls, that will be an enormous contribution to our future. By constantly introducing our fellow citizens to beauty, we can become a great nation that harmoniously unites West and East, South and North. May our art continue to flourish.
бір-бірін үйлестіре білетін үлкен ел бола аламыз. Сондықтан мәдениетіміз өркендей берсін.
But the most amazing phenomenon of the last 5 years is how much younger the museum audience has become. The halls renewed after a major renovation have filled with school children and students. And this is not about forced field trips. Young people have turned to aesthetics and meeting consciously, turning the museum into a fashionable space for self-development. Here, past and future have finally shaken hands, proving that Kazakhstan's cultural code is not a frozen monument, but a living, beating heart of our identity.